Good evening, BookTube, YouTube. It is today, or is tonight, is a Wednesday. It is November the 7th, 2018. It is 6:40 at night here in Southwest Michigan, and for some reason, due to this time change, it seems that time is just dragging its heels. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't go to bed until 11 o'clock. At the earliest, 10:30. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Last night, I did make a video, didn't I, last night? I don't remember. I think I made a video today. So I think I made 2 videos yesterday and a video today. I don't know. I can't remember. So I thought I'd just make a video of rambling. Rambling. I'm reading still the William H. Gass Reader. And I'm reading his... it's like an essay on reading to oneself. It's a long essay on reading to oneself. And so he's writing about different ways that we read. And like he says here, reading, that is not a public imposition. Of course, when we read, many of us squirm and fidget. One of the closest friends of my youth would sinuously wind and unwind on his forefinger the long blonde strands of his hair. How he read, that is how I remember him. Yes, our postures are often provocative, perverse. Yet these outward movements of the body really testify to the importance of the inner movements of the mind. In even those rapid flickers of the eye as we shift from word to word, phrase to phrase, and clause to clause, hoping to keep our head afloat on a flood of Faulkner or Proust or Joyce or James, are registers of reason. For reading is reasoning, figuring things out through thoughts, making arrangements out of arrangements until we've understood a text so fully it is nothing but feeling and pure response, until its conceptual turns are like the reversals of the mood in a marriage: petty, sad, ecstatic, commonplace, foreseeable, amazing. In order to have this experience, however, we must learn to perform the text. Say, sing, shout the words to oneself, give them with our minds their body. Otherwise, the eye skates over every syllable like the speeder. There can be no doubt that often what we read should be skimmed, as what we are frequently asked to drink should be spilled. But the speeding reader is alone in another, less satisfactory way. One quite from that of the reader who says the words to herself. Because we read, we divide into a theater. There the performer who shapes these silent sounds, moving the muscles of the larynx almost invisibly, and there is the listener who hears them said and who responds to their passion or their wisdom. Such a reader sees every text as unique, greets every work as a familiar stranger. Such a reader is willing to allow one another's words to become his. In the next moment, let us read a whine, so as to show how many things may be read which have not been written. We have prepared for the occasion, of course. The bottle has been allowed to breathe. Books need to breathe too. They should be opened properly and heft and thumbed. Their covers part like pairs of supplicants' palms. The paper print layout should be appreciated. But now we decant the text into our wide open and welcoming eyes. We warm the wine in the bowl of the glass with our hand. We let its banquet collect above it like the red roses seem to stain the air. We wade shoeless, to be sure, through the color it has liquefied. We roll a bit of it about in our mouth. We sip, we savor. We say some sentences of the great master, Sir Thomas Browne. Quote, we tear sleep a death, and yet is waking that kills us and destroys those spirits which are the house of life. 'Tis indeed a part of life that best expresseth death. For every man truly lives so long as he acts his nature, or some way makes good the faculties of himself. Are these words not from a fine field in a splendid year? There is, of course, a sameness in all these words: life, death, man, nature. We get the drift, but the differences make all the difference. The way the nose, the eyes, and the cheekbones form a face, the way a muscle makes emotion pass across it. It is a difference we read. Differences are not only identifiable, distinct, they are epidemic. The wine is light, perhaps spicy, slow to release its grip upon itself. The upper thigh is widening wonderfully. The night air has hands. Words fly out of our mouths like birds. But who knows the fate of his bones, Browne says, or how often is he to be buried? Yet as I say his soul out loud, he lives again. He has risen up in me, and I can be, for him, the temporary savior that every real reader is putting his words in my mouth. Not nervously, notice, as though they were pieces of chewed gum, but in that way in which is necessary, if the heart is to hear them, though they are his words in his soul. Then, which returns through me, I am in charge. He has nothing of me. His words move because I move them. It is like cycling, reading is. Can you feel the air, the pure passage of the Spirit past the exposed skin? So this reading will be like living then. The living each of you will be off in a moment to be busy with, not always speedily, I hope, or in the continuous anxiety of consequence, the soulness of inattention, the annoying static of distraction, but it would be only a semblance of living, this living. Nevertheless, the way unspoken reading is a semblance, unless from time to time you perform the outer world and let it live within, because only in that manner can it deliver itself to us. So I'm reading into oneself. So I've been reading, I just finished that essay. The next one is, even if by the oxen in the world. One thing I like about how I got into William H. Gass is he's a wordsmith. He loves language. He loves putting sentences together. He likes how words are connected and phrases, and he's always surprised when you read him. The way he uses language, how he writes and describes is always a surprise. So that's what I'm reading. I've been reading him all day. I mean, this morning when I got up, I didn't really feel like reading anything religious. So I basically got up, and then I went back to bed and got up around 11 o'clock. And I ate something, and then I went to thrift stores. I went to a grocery store, and I'm not going to show all the books I got at thrift stores. Like I said, I'm just going to thrift stores around where we live. I'm not going North Holland. I'm just going to the Book Nook and just the stores around where we live. And I found two books. One I had and one I didn't have. I mean, I found other books, but I had this one, Whittaker Chambers, a biography by Sam Tenenhaus. Now, I had this real old copy. I've had this for years, and I don't know where I got it, but it came out in 1997. And I've read parts of it over the years. Then I found today this good paperback edition. And it was only 50 cents. And then I found at the same place Whittaker Chambers' Ghost on the Roof, selected essays. I didn't know about this book, and so I was kind of pleased to find these in one place. So tonight I read an essay in here called "The Silence, Exile, and Death" from Time Magazine, February 10, 1941. And it's on the death of James Joyce. He writes about how he gathered with friends in New York City, and there were friends, people who knew James Joyce, and other people, and he writes about how James Joyce died. So that was very interesting. Also, Whittaker Chambers is famous. He wrote this autobiography called Witness. It says here, rarely is the central conflict of an age dramatized in a historical experience which touches all men so closely that none can discard it. All men must react to one or another. The Hess Chambers case was such an experience. When one of the chief figures in such an experience also happens to be a man who feels deeply and can give voice to what he feels, the result is likely to be a memorable book. Witness is such a book. The great theme of Witness is the ordeal of the human soul caught in the 20th century's conflict of faiths, religion against materialism, freedom against communism. In the 20th century, and every man's ordeal. In the 20th century, it is every man's ordeal, for every man has suffered or within the next 2 decades will suffer the ordeal and its consequences. Nevertheless, millions of men do not understand what the war of faith is about or the nature of the ordeal. Witness is Whittaker Chambers' interpretation of both. So, Witness is in reality 5 books: a terrible because true spy story, a shocking account of the communist fifth column which infiltrated United States government and American life as seen by a man who was there and took part in it, who names names. The inside story of Hess' case by the man who went through it step by step, who became the government's chief witness against Alder Hess, the former high State Department official convicted on perjury charges. The clearest and most convincing answer yet given to the question, why did so many intellectuals in the early 1930s become communists? A human document unusual in any age, for before Chambers could explain the meaning of the Hess case in a communism, he had to explain himself. Witness is that explanation. In this book, you meet a man who does not hesitate to bear witness, first of all, against himself, disclosing facts that men commonly conceal. In no other way could he bear witness against the communist conspiracy which threatens all. So yeah, this book was written in 1952. And so you had, the Red Scare after the Second World War. There was the fear of communism and how communism had infiltrated the American government and certain high officials. And he was involved in that. I also found recently a paperback edition of Witness, the 50th anniversary edition New Forewords by William F. Buckley and Robert D. Novak, who are very famous conservative intellectuals. So yeah, so that's what I thought I'd just show in this little video tonight. It's 6:55 and I do not know what to do with myself. Of course, if Carol was here, she would say, well, you can mop the floors, you can dust the furniture, you can, go for a walk, you can clean the bathrooms. I did do some laundry this evening, but I am kind of restless. I think it's just this weird time change. It gets dark and you think, well, it's time to go to bed, but it's not. So, reading William H. Gass, Reader, and looking at these essays, Ghost on the Roof, Selected Essays by Whittaker Chambers. They look kind of interesting in here, these essays. I'll probably look at this tonight. So, yeah. So, hoping you're having a good Wednesday night. And I don't know what else to share with you folks. So I'll sign off, and until next time, bye.